Welcome back to Airborne Productions. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Vulcan Pro TIG 165 from Harbor Freight.
And today we're going to ask and answer the question, at $680 new, is this welder worth it?
This thing is currently set up on a little Harbor Freight welding cart, cheap little thing with a 50 CFH bottle of argon. Pretty standard setup, 110 volt right now. It can also do 220 with the flip of a plug. It's super easy to use, so let's take a look at it. So out of the box, you're given two cables, one for 110 volt and one for 220. You're given a TIG torch. You're given a little stinger for your stick welding. You're given a hose for connecting your argon to the welder, and you're also given a ground clamp.
Also included is this regulator. It does the job, but it's pretty cheap, so it'd be a good thing to replace. Lastly, the stock plastic hose that they included with it was leaky and didn't work well, so I replaced it with this green argon hose from a weld shop.
This thing can weld up to 130 amps on 110 and up to 165 amps on 220. I will list out the duty cycles below, but all that information is labeled right here on the welder. On the back side, we have our inlet for our gas, our argon in this case. We also have a power plug right here. Like I said, 110 or 220, either one works fine. One thing to note, like always, you have a better duty cycle when running 220 volt versus 110. There are multiple different welding modes. Once you turn it on, you can choose between TIG high frequency, TIG pulse, TIG lift with pulse, as well as stick. A couple of the differences on these different settings. High frequency, that TIG HF, will be the regular starting. The pedal, use the foot pedal that they give you, and have it off the metal obviously. Give it some pedal. She starts right up. TIG pulse is used in addition with one of the other TIG methods, which is basically where the current is varying.
The pulse mode is fixed at 2 pulses per second. The peak amperage time is 50%, and the background current is 30% of the peak amperage current.
With the TIG lift, that's a little more for a field type weld, where you may not have the pedal on you. So what you do is exactly as it says, you place it and then lift it, and the arc is struck at that moment. Lastly, you have stick welding, which all you do is swap your leads, click it on stick welding, and you're good to go. Right here is the knob that adjusts your amperage. The torch included with this really is not bad. It's a cheap Chinese torch, yeah, but it's been working fine lately. No complaints about it. The welder came with a few collets and collet bodies, as well as a couple extra cups of different sizes, as well as different size electrodes. Also came with this cool little metal gauge. Not only does it have the gauge sizes for sheet metal listed here, but if you turn to the reverse, for example 16 gauge right here, turn it to the reverse side and you'll see exactly how many thousandths of an inch that gauge is. Pretty handy. Now this pedal rocks. I have absolutely zero complaints about it. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. In the front we have our 3 inputs. On the right side we have a positive, left side we have a negative, and that center is the input for the pedal. Remember, with TIG welding, the ground is positive, the torch is negative. Stick welding is just the opposite. The ground is negative while the stinger is positive. So, pros of this welder. It's small, it's lightweight, it's very inexpensive, easy to set up. It's already all the work's done for you. All you do is set your mode, set your amps, and go. It is just really user-friendly, great entry-level, small, portable, lightweight welder. For TIG especially, man, it's killing it. Haven't done too much with the stick welding, but for TIG, man, it's good to go. I can only think of 3 reasons really why you wouldn't want to buy this welder. Number 1, if you need to weld with more than 130 or 165 amps, as these are the limitations for this welder. which goes along with the duty cycle, which also may be limited depending on how much you're welding. 2, if you want a welder with a little more pulse control, because this pulse is set and forget. You cannot control the parameters within it. One parameter and one parameter only. 3, if you want to weld aluminum or anything like that, which requires AC welding. This is a DC welder only, which is fine for steel, stainless, etc., but will not work for aluminum.
So, to answer the question, should you buy this welder? There's a few other questions that need to be asked. Will you be doing anything over 165 amps or using aluminum? If the answers to those are no, then really there's not a reason not to buy this welder. I mean, it's pretty awesome for the small package that you get and the cheap price that you pay. You really get a lot out of it. If you want some precise welding done, a little better than MIG or stick, want something TIG welded, maybe with some pulse, there really isn't a reason not to buy this thing. If you're on the fence about this welder, go for it. It's not going to set you back much. It's going to do what you need it to do. Thanks.